How do you feel about Donald Trump? Well, I disagree with you. So I should have the right to kick you in the face and send you to the hospital. No, I shouldn't. That is straight up craziness because I'm in the United States, which has freedom of speech. That means that you or I could go down to Washington and protest the president and...
You can't touch this. Yo, sound the bell. School is in, sucker. You can't touch this.
Nobody can touch you as long as you're doing it peacefully because the Constitution guarantees the right to free speech under the First Amendment. So why am I talking about this obvious fact? Because last week, President Trump had the president of Turkey, this guy named Erdogan, over to the White House for a visit.
It is a great pleasure to welcome President Erdogan.
Now, there's some people who do not like this president from Turkey, and they had gathered in Washington on the day he showed up to tell him that, as you're allowed to do, and then I'll just let you see for yourself what happened. Okay, so you see the guys in the black suits. They are with the security team for the Turkish president. They are his bodyguards, and it sure looks to me like they're just beating up U.S. civilians.
Stop breathing for a second. Yeah.
Look at my face.
This is a deep cut. This is a deep cut. Put pressure on this. Hold that tight.
This is not the stuff that the United States lets happen on our soil.
You cannot have that happen in the United States of America. People have the right in our country to peacefully demonstrate. This isn't Turkey. This isn't a third world country.
In Turkey, if you criticize the government, there's a really good chance you're going to be fired, arrested, or worse. The Turkish government has even arrested a 13-year-old who allegedly said something bad about this president on Facebook. Now, it's bad enough that the Turkish president can get away with that crap in his country, but dude, don't be bringing your laws up on our turf, beating up people for exercising free speech.
I think it should have repercussions, including identifying these people and bringing charges against them.
Now, I know, President Trump, you did not invite this guy over here just so he could come and spit on the U.S. Constitution. President Trump, I know you didn't let it go down like that. I know you got on Twitter and told this dude how it is. Let me see the tweet that's about to be hilarious. I'm sorry, what? Trump didn't say anything about it. Nothing about that. Okay, so the reason that President Trump didn't say anything against what happened is because I don't think he really is against what happened. When it comes to leaders of other countries who use violence against anybody who disagrees with them, Trump has nice things to say about them. If you look at Putin, for example.
Well, if you look at the past 17 years that Vladimir Putin's been in power in Russia, there's certainly been a very high mortality rate among the people who, in one way or another, have crossed the Kremlin's path.
But what does Trump say about Putin?
I think Putin's been a very strong leader for Russia, but he's been a lot stronger than our leader, that I can tell you.
The man has very strong control over a country.
I mean, you'd think? That's like looking at a killer who has a gun to the head of a hostage and saying, look how much control he has. I mean, his leadership skills are just so on point.
We have to be so strong. We have to fight so viciously and violently.
Another example is Tiananmen Square. You had lots of people gathered in one place telling the Chinese government, we don't like what you're doing. So what did China do? It sent a bunch of troops and tanks, killing at least several hundred people, possibly thousands. Most people consider it an absolute atrocity, but here's what Trump said.
I said that is a strong, powerful government that put it down with strength. It was a horrible thing. It doesn't mean at all I was endorsing it.
And to Trump's credit, he does say that this stuff that China did was bad. And he says the same thing about Putin.
Certainly, in that system, he's been a leader. Now, it's a very different system, and I don't happen to like the system.
But if Trump really thought that system was so bad, then why the hell didn't he say something when Turkey tried to bring that system over to the U.S.? Okay, but let's get back to Tiananmen Square, that incident where the Chinese government shot up at citizens for disagreeing with it.
Not that you would know that if you lived in China.
China's government has done its best to erase the massacre from their history books.
Try searching Tiananmen Square on China's heavily monitored internet, and results are censored.
Authoritarian governments and leaders only want you to know the good stuff of what they do. They want to control the story, and they will rewrite history if they need to.
You've also had some big failures.
I don't think I've had big failures. Donald Trump has always been very, very successful.
Trump hotels and casinos filed for bankruptcy protection 3 times in 6 years.
Okay,
isn't that a failure?
Not really. I mean, look, it worked out very well for me. I had nothing to do with running the company. Management ran.
You were paid $2 million a year.
Excuse me. I didn't run the company. I'm just telling you.
So what were you paid $2 million a year for?
Excuse me. Because of my genius, okay?
Living in a country with free speech and a free press, that's essential to make sure that our government doesn't get away with stuff. Look, you may love Trump, just like you love your boo in a romantic relationship, but that doesn't mean that you don't want the right to be able to tell your significant other when they do something that you don't like.
Who is Sasha Club? And why is she thinking about you?
If your boo could send you to the hospital every time you ask him a question, they could get away with cheating on you, they could get away with murder. And that is exactly what these authoritarian governments and leaders do to their citizens. Now, the United States has a history of having very strong free speech laws, but President Trump wants to change that.
I'm going to open up our libel laws so when they write purposely negative and horrible and false articles, we can sue them and win lots of money.
We can't let a president get away with punishing people who say bad things about him. What if he does something bad that we need to say something about?
FBI Director James Comey has been fired.
Trump fired the FBI director. Like, I mean, if he's gone, who's going to investigate Russia's ties to...
The U.S. government is not supposed to operate in secrecy. Any citizen is supposed to be able to walk up into any public meeting, in any public building, and ask any public official, what are you doing? But people are reporting that federal officials under the Trump administration are not giving them the access they're supposed to have. So I started off this video by asking you, how do you feel about Trump? But really I don't care, because even if we disagree about that, we should at least have the right to yell at each other about it. And this woman should have the right to dress up like a giant vagina if she wants to. And this guy should have the right to wear a your feelings shirt, because Merca, that's why. But let's go back to the incident that started me making this video in the first place. I have not even gotten to the worst part. Even though Trump didn't say a damn word about it, the Turkish embassy did release a statement. They said the violence and injuries were the result of an unpermitted, provocative demonstration. Well, first of all, you do not need a permit to demonstrate in the United States. And the only provocation that I saw in those videos were the Turkish security team going after people in every direction. The Turkish embassy also said that the security team for the president was acting in self-defense. But when you're kicking somebody in the head who's on the ground in the fetal position, how is that self-defense? The Turkish embassy also said that the groups that gathered there to demonstrate were affiliated with this terrorist group called the PKK, but the demonstrators responded to that and said, we have absolutely nothing to do with terrorists, what are you talking about? And the scary thing about them just calling these people terrorists who say no we're not, is that Trump has talked about terrorists. He's talked about being really, really tough on terrorists.
Saddam Hussein was a bad guy, but you know what he did well? He killed terrorists.
We have laws. They don't have laws. And the laws say you can't do this, you can't do that, you can't do, a lot. Their laws say you can do anything you want, and the more vicious you are, the better. They can do chopping off heads, drowning people in steel cages. They can do whatever they want to do. They probably think we're weak. We have no leadership. You have to fight fire with fire.
Okay, so Trump wants to do that to terrorists, and whether you think it's right to chop terrorists' heads off or torture them, that's one thing. But I think we can be on the same page about the fact that the government should not have the right to call you a terrorist just because you disagree with it on an issue. Because if it can, and it can chop your head off, well then that really sucks because you're not gonna have a head. Anyway, did I tell you there was another angle caught on video of this incident? Okay, so this is the car that the president of Turkey is about to get out of.
Somebody told them to go out there and beat up on these peaceful demonstrators.
Then you see the president of Turkey get out of the car. Looks to me like he sees all the violence going down, but then he turns around and he does not look like he's bothered by it at all, does he?
Then in Are We in the Twilight Zone news, Turkey has accused the United States of aggressive actions over that fight that happened outside of the embassy last week. Turkey has blamed U.S. officials for, quote, aggressive and unprofessional actions by American police officers toward the Turkish bodyguards and security lapses.
I'm sorry, what?
Who the fuck you think you talking to?
So if you think it's BS that President Trump hasn't said anything about this, there's something you can do. No matter where you live, there are people in Washington that represent you. If you go to this website, govtrack.us, you can type in your address and it'll give you a list of those people with their phone numbers. Calling them is the best way to get their attention. You can call up and use this script. Hi, my name is... I'm a voter in your district and I don't understand how the hell the Turkish government can come up on American soil and beat up US civilians for practicing free speech. You better speak up against this if you haven't already, and I hope you'll do everything in your power to pressure President Trump and the White House to speak up against it too. Also, I know you have a really hard job and I'm very appreciative for your service to the public. Okay, thanks, bye. Again, that website is govtrack.us. Okay, that is the end of my rant. Go be sweet to everybody around you. Bye, y'all.